Our week around here was anything but quiet. It actually went down in a blaze of glory, quite literally. We had a broken cart holding a full water filter, fire in the kitchen, and a sick family, but there was redemption. We nailed that mayo, and I also have a little guy popping in for his Super Bowl prediction. So grab a cup of tea and hang out, because this one is anything but boring. We did start the week off right with some chicken wings. Now, I do mine in the oven because I don't like the mess all over my stove. That usually works around here, but as you'll see at the end of this week, it definitely was going to need a deep clean after the mess that I made. Now, to bread these wings, I use baking powder as well as salt and freshly ground pepper. I don't use any flour because I'm trying to keep everything pretty low carb, as low carb as possible, I should say. So there you see it. That's the baking powder, salt, and pepper all mixed up. Now, I have to tell you, we have been sick this week. Not just the girls this time, but I have joined them as well. And it's sad to say, I think the boys are falling right in line. So before I went ahead and dried off these wings, I went ahead and had one of my favorite things this week, which has been a cup of honey chamomile tea. It has been really, really nice to soothe my throat, and needless to say, the whole family has been going through quite a bit. So to get the wings back in action, we are drying them completely. It's really important before you go ahead and get these breaded that they don't have any moisture on the tops or the bottoms. I am using a 2-tiered cooling rack here that's actually oven safe, and actually there is a third tier. I just only need the 2 for this project. So I'm using the stainless steel racks to separate the wings enough to where the air completely circulates around them and gives me a nice crisp wing. Using that method with the wings being completely dry and the ingredients that I have for breading produces a nice crisp result. Once the wings are completely dry, you just want to go ahead and toss them in the mixture. Now I had 30 wings here and I thought I would be making enough, but I did end up going back for a second batch just to have enough to get them completely coated. And of course, I have to make my typical mess there by knocking some on out of the bowl during the process. Of course, if I'm in the kitchen, it doesn't take long for some little lady to find me. So here is my tiny little assistant joining the table so we can go ahead and work together. I love to put her chair down on the end when there's things that I really don't want her helping with, because that way she can still see and get a good look, but she doesn't have to be right up in the mix. That said, she often disagrees, as you're about to see here. She's pretty confident that she should be setting up on the counter. So after a little discussion and a little negotiation, I moved the racks around a little bit more so I could give her some space to get up there and enjoy the party. So now I'm just tossing the wings in and I'm going to set them right back up there. The beauty of the double rack system is you can just pick up that top rack and take it off for easy access to the bottom. Once they're all coated, I'm setting them in the oven and then I'm going to put the fries right underneath. Now I did have that rack a little too close to the bottom, which you'll see here. Some of the fries got a little extra done, but everything fit beautifully, and next time I'll just move those racks up one notch. Now here I did take the wings out of the oven and I made sure to temp several of them of varying sizes just to make sure that they've all reached that safe temperature inside so that I can make sure that my family is going to be good to go no matter what. If you don't have a digital read thermometer like this, I highly recommend it. I use it all the time on my meat and also on my bread to make sure that it reaches the perfect temperature to make sure everything is done on the inside. So the kids got the fries, but I just had some of the leftover cream sauce that I made the week before, and it was absolutely delicious. So I mentioned blaze of glory at the beginning. Let me just tell you, our problem started way before the fire. If you see the wall over there with the paintings that my son had done previously, that's usually where our Berkey water filter sits, on a rolling cart, so we can roll it across to the sink whenever we need to. Well, today, or the day you're seeing here, my son was rolling it back and started screaming for help, and the wheel had broken off of one of the corners. So the very full water filter was leaning, everything underneath, which had glass, and some big enameled cast iron pots were on the edge, and he was screaming for help. So needless to say, the kitchen deserved a little bit of a revamp. We decided to take the water filter and put it over by the sink for a little bit easier use, which led us to some empty space. I had wanted the cabinet you're seeing here before in the kitchen, but I didn't feel that we had room to have it plus the water filter on the adjoining wall. The cabinet you're seeing here is actually an heirloom piece. My dad had purchased it at an auction when I was really little, and it was just in horrible shape. It had a piece of the tin missing over on the side, and he went to the trouble to refinish the whole entire thing, getting all of the nasty old paint off, and to go ahead and punch a new piece of tin to fit into the side. Now, I was given this a long time ago, and we've just been using it to store our homeschool stuff in the other room. But with the new space opening up in the kitchen and the need for extra storage, of course, all the time, the kids and I decided to go ahead and move it in. So, with the help of my son and a big bath towel to slide it in across the floor to not miss anything up, we brought it on into the kitchen on this day. Now, what you're seeing here is an antique rake and a shovel that were previously hanging where that cabinet is now. These are also from my dad. He passed away several years ago, and I was able to get some really awesome antiques that he and my mom had collected, as well as my grandma was into antiques back in the day. She actually had a store. So I have quite a few really cool old pieces. So the rake and the shovel, I know some people might think it's interesting in the kitchen, but to me kind of symbolize a fork and a spoon. So with the help of my guys, we went ahead and got them hung back up. Now, if you are somebody who gets at the laser level and measures, I'm sure this is driving you absolutely crazy. I am confident in telling you that my husband is wishing he was home right now as he's watching this back and thinking that we could have done this in a little better way. But needless to say, the job is complete. So the kids and I got this all done, and we weren't sure at first if we really liked it, but in the end, I think it's going to work out really well. While we had the camera set up in the kitchen, my son decided it would be an awesome time to do a little interview of baby sister, and here I'm going to drop in his little Super Bowl prediction conversation with her.
Shane, what would you have to say about the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl?
I don't know.
She does not know. On second thought, the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl. Third thought, back to you, Teresa, in the studios.
I'm sorry to any of the 49ers fans out there, but we live in Missouri, so we have to support the Chiefs, and we are super excited to see how this game turns out. Now, back to the food, and I hope you appreciated our little comedic interlude there. It's always fun to let y'all see a little bit of the back end of what's going on, and I had no idea he was doing that at the time because I was busy doing something else, so it was really funny to find that on my camera. All right, for dinner this night, we decided to do something super fast and easy and talk about a pantry clean out. This is frozen vegetables coming out of the freezer that have been in there for quite a while. It's the stir fry mix that you can get at Sam's Club, and it's super, super good and just a fast way to throw together a delicious meal. So I put those vegetables with a little bit of oil in my big cast iron skillet, and I'm mixing up a little sauce over on the side to top them with, and I'm adding some of my canned pork that I canned back in my Canuary videos. So if you haven't seen how to easily can big chunks of pulled pork, definitely check that out because it made this dinner so delicious to have a nice completing factor to the stir fry, and everything came together super fast. I mean, we're really looking at frozen vegetables and canned meat. And also, I'm putting together some rice noodles back in that pan that you're seeing on the stove. So this was a very fast, very delicious meal that everybody really enjoyed. Actually, when my daughters were sitting with me as I was editing this footage, the baby asked when we could have that again. So she was ready. The longest part of this meal was actually boiling the water for the noodles. So if you're looking for something fast, definitely always keep a quick stir fry in mind. On to the next evening. Again, since we're all sick, there's just not a lot of big meal prep or large meals going on this week. So this is breakfast for dinner. That was 8 ounces of cream cheese and 8 eggs put in the blender. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt here. And then I'm going to put it on top of some sausage that we had left over in the freezer, in addition to some minced onion and some feta cheese. Now, once I get that all laid in the bottom of my 9 by 13 pan, I'm just going to put it over in the oven and bake it. I baked this for about 20 minutes until it was nice and golden brown. This one I tend to just watch until it's really the color that I like. I do think next time I will go ahead and make this in a little bit smaller pan. These came out pretty thin, or alternatively, I could add some more eggs and some more cream cheese. So just kind of keep in mind, it's super flexible. You just want to make sure that it's not just set on top, but to get it set down inside, you need to actually have a pretty good color on top, which I'll show you here momentarily. Now again, going with it is our bacon. We love bacon. I'm sure you guys can tell that if you followed us along for 6 weeks. So this was a nice addition to go with it. Now, the eggs themselves, you can see there, the color on them, they do start to puff up just slightly once they are baked, and then the bacon comes out. The bacon, of course, could be crisp to your desired doneness. We like it to be a little bit soft. This was actually probably a touch more done than normal, but since the oven had been baking the eggs, I usually start the oven from cold with my bacon. That got a little bit away from me. Now, the final evening, this is where all the fireworks are about to happen. So to get started, it's going to start off very mild. We are making a smash burger tonight, which is really, really delicious. The kids absolutely love them. They've been wanting burgers for quite a while. And to go with these smash burgers, you have to make a fry sauce. Now, when I'm speaking smash burger, if you're in our area, we love Freddy's burgers, also the same as like a steak and shake burger. They're the really thin burgers that have kind of the nice crispy crust on them. And the fry sauce seems to be the secret to that. The base of this fry sauce is actually going to be the mayo that you see my son making here. We have really perfected this during the week, and it came in really handy tonight because we needed to make the mayo not only for the sauce, but also that's what I use on the underneath side of the bun to get them toasted over on the grill. We also use mayo in the same way for like a grilled cheese or something of that sort. So it is really important just for us to be able to have mayo around because we use it in all sorts of applications. It is way better for browning bread, in my opinion, than butter, and it actually tastes super good and gives it a nice crisp texture without making it soggy at all. So this hand blender is super for the win, but my son got tired of holding it, so he asked me to come over and finish it, and as you can see here, it's a nice thick mayo and the taste is awesome. Now the second part of the fry sauce is a grated onion. You really want it super thin because what we're looking for is a really smooth texture, and both of the guys wanted to get involved in making that. So once I have the mayo in the bowl and the onion, I'm going to add some mustard and some Worcestershire, and that is what we're going to blend up in order to have the fry sauce ready to go. So now let's head on over to the scene of the crime. I am warming up my griddle while toasting the buns at the same time because once these smash burgers are ready to go, you want to be ready to go ahead and assemble and get them on the plate. You don't really want the burgers sitting around cooling, so getting the griddle warmed up at the same time as toasting those buns is great. Now, I have had these, I think they're 3-ounce balls of meat in the refrigerator cooling while we've been doing this entire process. That's actually how I started out. So I'm putting this cold meat directly on my hot grill, and then I'm using a parchment paper circle. You could use any parchment that you have. I just have these circles already for my tortilla press, and pressing it down with a big grill press. Now this is what produces those beautiful burgers. Starting with the round shape gives them a nice crisp finish, and then you want to go ahead and dollop this dressing that we made, or the fry sauce, right on top before you turn them over. Now, just as a note here, what I'm using is American Wagyu beef, so there is a ton of fat in it, which is actually part of the problem that I'm about to have here. My brother actually owns a huge herd of these cattle and his own processing plant, so we're able to get really awesome beef locally, cue fire. My griddle isn't quite as big as my burners go all the way back, so the grease popping got us a little grease fire going. Needless to say, that was lots of excitement in the kitchen, but the biggest concern for everybody was, did their burgers get burned? And no, the burgers were fine. So you can see that grease cooking off here. This is a total lesson for me. I should have used my big skillet instead of my griddle here. I'm just so used to using it with the other beef that we'd had in the past and never having any problems. But this is definitely a lesson for me. In the future, I will absolutely be making sure to use my big cast iron with the big tall lip to make sure that we don't have any grease fires going forward. Did I mention my day was bad? This is my son getting a shot of his burger that was supposed to be the final clip. And needless to say, it just all went down in a blaze of glory. But for those of you who stuck it out, thanks. We appreciate it. Here's to hoping everybody has a better week next time. Thanks again for stopping by the Hometown Homestead. If you like what you saw, subscribe, and we'll see you back soon. Bye, friends.